Ever since the discovery of large reserves of natural resources in the Gulf region, it has become an exclusive source for oil and LNG imports for the other parts of the world, and most of the supplies are met from the Gulf countries mainly through the sea. Transiting through the Strait of Hormuz, this makes it one of the most important and critical choke points in the world. The Strait of Hormuz lies between Iran and Mosamdan, which is an enclave of Oman. The narrowest point of strait is just 33 kilometers wide, and it is the only passage that connects Persian Gulf to the open sea. Many countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Iran, Bahrain, Kuwait, UAE, and Iraq use the Strait of Hormuz for sea transportation. And out of these countries, only Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Iran have an alternative sea routes to connect other seas, while others completely rely on Persian Gulf. In spite of having access to the sea on both sides, still Saudi Arabia transport most of its oil from the Gulf ports than the ports in the Red Sea. According to the 2019 estimates, 79.4% of world's proven oil reserves are located in OPEC member countries, and the bulk amount of oil reserves are in the Middle East, and these reserves are estimated to be 64.5% of total OPEC reserves. In 2018, daily average of 21 million barrels per day passed through Strait of Hormuz, which is equal to the about 21% of total global oil consumption, and one-fourth of the world's liquefied natural gas passed through Strait of Hormuz. Qatar is the largest LNG exporter, while Saudi Arabia is the largest exporter of crude oil. China is the largest importer of crude oil in the world. It received 40% of crude oil from the Middle East, and Saudi Arabia is the largest exporter, with 16% of total China's oil imports in 2019. From Gulf, Qatar is the largest exporter of LNG to China, and Australia remains at top position for China's LNG imports. The United States is the second largest importer of crude oil in the world. It received 8% of its total oil imports from Saudi Arabia in 2020. India is the third largest importer of crude oil in the world. It received 60% of its crude oil imports from the Gulf producer. Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Iraq from the Gulf are the top crude oil exporters. In 2021, US became the second largest oil exporter to India, while Iraq still remains at the top position. Since 2011, India is the fourth largest importer of LNG. UAE and Qatar are the top LNG exporter to India. Japan is the fourth largest importer of crude oil. It receives 89% of its total oil imports from the Middle East. Saudi Arabia and UAE are the top oil exporters. Other countries like South Korea, Singapore, and Taiwan imports 70 to 75% of crude oil from Gulf. Due to such a huge oil flow from the region, many countries in the Gulf are competing to dominate the region, and Iran is one of them. Iran is very close to Strait of Hormuz, and there are several islands of Iran in the middle of the strait that gives Iran a tactical advantage in the region. These islands serve as a military base, and every individual island maintains a airstrip. These islands are very important due to its geostrategic location. Due to the depth of the sea, oil tankers and big ships have to pass through them. Since Iranian Revolution in 1979, relations have always been hostile between Iran and the United States. Several sanctions were imposed by United Nations and the United States, accusing Iran for engaging in terror activities and nuclear programs. And in response to those economic sanctions, Iran on several occasions threatened to block Strait of Hormuz, which could impact global oil supply and trade with other nations. Therefore, to safeguard its interest, the United States has stationed its Fifth Fleet at Bahrain, which is responsible for strategic sea routes of Persian Gulf, Gulf of Oman, Gulf of Aden, Red Sea, and the Arabian Sea. Saudi Arabia, one of the major strategic allies of the United States, has no diplomatic relation with Iran. There has been tension between these two powerful neighbors in the Gulf for the long time, due to sectarian issue and the Western influence in the region, though they had never confronted each other directly, but remain involved in many proxy wars against each other. China is the new player in the region. It has started investing in the Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Iran as a part of Road and Belt Initiative. Especially in Iran, China is doing huge investment in roads, railways, ports, 5G networks, and telecommunication. And in return, China would receive Iranian oil and gas for next 25 years. As China continues to expand its navy in the Indian Ocean and the Gulf region, Indian Navy, which has traditionally operated closer to home waters, has begun deployment across the Indian Ocean, stretching from Malacca Strait in the Southeast Asia to the waters of Africa, as a response to China's expanding weight across the region. India is the biggest buyer of Iranian oil after China. India has already started deploying its warship in the Gulf region to escort its merchant vessel and oil carrier safely out of Strait of Hormuz.